First of all, like always,
Do you recognize that voice?
I don't know who's talking up there, but first of all, I want to thank you guys for coming and covering Penn State football like always. I want to thank our fans because obviously less than ideal situation, and our fans were phenomenal. You know, from all the reports I was getting, we were going to have a tough weather game, but it was beautiful all day until we stepped on the field, and then it opened up and didn't stop. So the fact that our fans were out there and supporting us the entire game, that doesn't happen too many places around the country anymore. Some programs are having a hard time keeping people after the first half, no matter the circumstances. So I'm really appreciative of our students. I'm really appreciative of our fans in general. You know, when it comes to the game, the things that I've come in here about, and I'm always so proud about, and how we play situational football and pound my chest about them, we didn't do a good job with those today. We did win the field position battle. Barney obviously has been a big part of our success there all year long. He's been phenomenal. He should be getting more people talking about how well he's playing, in my opinion. We did not win the turnover battle. Coming into this game, I think we were number 2 in the country in turnover ratio. Well, we saved them all up for tonight. You know, I don't know if I've ever seen anything like that. Fortunately, for most of the game, our defense was either able to get a turnover back, or they just played great sudden change defense. They played phenomenal. I think we started the game with 5 straight 3-and-outs, which is really, really impressive. We lost the penalty battle, and we lost the explosive play battle. So, you know, not really our formula for how we win, but again, like I said earlier, you know, there is a ton of value of being able to win games under less than ideal situations. So, you know, we're going to go into this bye week. It is a bye week, not an off week. It is a bye week, and we got to get better this week. We got a tough stretch coming up with Michigan. We gotta get in that facility, and we'll practice Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. The players will have off the weekend. The coaches will go recruit on the weekend. We'll get obviously a head start not only on our next opponent, but the next couple opponents. We also need to live in the training room and get as healthy as we possibly can. But it's coming at a good time. It's coming at a good time. So. Again, I appreciate you guys coming out, and happy to answer questions.
Raise your hand, we'll get a mic to you.
James, what are you able to share with us with respect to K-Tron not playing in the first half? And in regard to the fumbles, do you just chalk that up to bad weather and some clean shots, or were there things your guys weren't doing well? Thanks.
Yeah, no, I'm never going to allow the weather to be an excuse. It doesn't matter. We have got to protect the football. Now, a couple of their hits, did they clinic hit in terms of the one that the guy came downhill? We were running the play that we call WASP, and the safety came down and put his hat right on the ball. But part of ball security is pad level. You got to take on shots with the top of your pads. Obviously, you can't take on a helmet with the ball. That ain't going to end well. But we didn't handle it well. But no, the weather will never be an excuse for us. We obviously need to continue working there. We don't go inside when it rains, and sometimes they're looking at me like I'm crazy. Like, what do we have the indoor for? That's why. So we'll continue to do that. We'll emphasize that this week even more. But what was the other part?
K-Tron.
Oh, K-Tron. Yeah, you know, there's a lot of times, and I know everybody has different approaches with these things. I don't get into injuries, and I don't get into internal decisions, and I know sometimes that puts you guys in a tough position, and I apologize for that. But again, I would rather keep those decisions internal, whether it's injuries, whether it is behavior modification, whatever it may be, rotations, whatever it is, we're gonna keep those internal. I know that's tough on you guys, and I apologize for that, but I just don't think it's really anybody else's business, for those decisions to be announced publicly. Either it doesn't help us from a competitive standpoint, or it's undue embarrassment when there's already a level of punishment that's happening.
Dave?
Given whatever you wanted to accomplish in your first 5 games, do you think this team is prepared for Michigan?
Yeah, I think we have done what we needed to do to this point, right? We're 5-0. I don't have the ability like you guys to see the scores of I don't know what happened at Michigan this week. I don't know what happened around the country. I just was watching a game in there, kind of saw on the board. I think it was the LSU game. But winning is hard. It is hard week in and week out. I put examples up every Sunday of games that people are looking on the ticker or watching the highlights, and they're shocked. Winning's hard, whether it's in conference, whether it's out of conference. Scheduling a game to go play at Auburn, they're beating LSU right now. It's hard to do it. So we've done, to your question, Dave, we've done what we needed to do up to this point to be 5-0. But we got to get better. We're playing obviously a really good Michigan team on the road. They got rankings and so on and so forth. We haven't spent a whole lot of time on them yet. Obviously, I haven't watched them, so it's hard for me to say that we're ready. But our objective is obviously to be ready come next Saturday. That's what we have to be ready. Not today. We got to be ready next Saturday. And there's a lot of work that goes into that. I got a ton of respect for them and their program and their organization and their coaching staff. But we have done what we needed to do up till this point by being 5-0. We've won a lot of different ways. I think there's value in that. I'd love for them all to be pretty wins and sexy wins, but that's not the game we play.
Sauber?
James, I know you said about injuries, but we saw DeAndre Lambert-Smith in a boot after the game today. If he's required to miss time, is Trey Wallace the guy, and how would you evaluate how Trey Wallace played without him out there today?
Yeah, based on everything I know now, obviously, as you guys know, and you're watching us play in the rotation, Trey would be the next guy. But we got 2 weeks to get Keandre back, and we have 2 weeks to help Trey develop, and other guys will have opportunities as well. It's one thing for it to be a weekly competition. It's another thing for it to be a 2-week competition. There's going to be a lot more good-on-good periods to be able to evaluate guys. We'll obviously get a head start on Michigan and some of our other opponents as well. But yeah, he's, based on everything I know sitting right now, he's the next guy.
Andrew, in the back.
Coach, obviously the weather, how much, or at least a lot of the run today. Was that a game plan change that you made within the last 24 hours or on the fly today? The weather forecast didn't quite look like this beginning of the week.
Oh, the people I was talking to, we knew this was coming. Again, it's, as you know, I've talked about before, it's a pretty good gig, but the information I got early in the week, it played out exactly the way it did tonight. And to be honest with you, I got a report about an hour before the game as well, because I was trying to decide with the coin toss how we would play that based on weather. If it was going to be somewhat dry in the first half and then a total downpour in the second half, that could impact our decision making in the coin toss. But no, you got to have enough in the game plan each week that if you have to shift more towards one or the other, that you have the ability to do that. But we didn't change our game plan based on the weather. We may have changed how we called the game. Yes, sir.
Rich?
James, I'd like to ask you about 2 offensive players. First of all, did you ever consider playing Drew today? And secondly, we did not see Devin Ford in uniform. Can you explain or tell us what is going on with him?
Yeah, Devin Ford is no longer on the team. He's decided that he wanted to focus on academics. And we wish him the the best. I think you guys know I've praised Devin Ford for 4 years. I got a ton of respect for him, and I wish him nothing but the best. The other question about Drew, it's not something that we talked about on the headset. Obviously, we'd like for him to get in the game, but no, it's not something we talked about on the headset. It's not something I brought up. It's not something Mike brought up.
Neil?
James, I was curious, some of your short yardage plays, do you think you guys would be in a better position with the 2 or 3 of those? And also if you could comment about PJ's play down at the goal line.
Yeah, I think PJ's playing extremely well. You know, he just continues each week to gain more confidence, both physically, mentally, emotionally, is playing, I think, really well right now. The short yardage ones, I know me and you kind of see things differently. I remember the ones that worked. Are you talking about the ones that didn't?
Well, there were a couple that didn't, I mean, early.
Right, but my point, I usually see things, I remember the ones that worked. You like to bring up the ones that didn't. So you talking about the ones that didn't or the ones that worked?
Well, there was a second one, third one, early in the game. I mean, you know.
I know, I want to make sure I understand which ones you do want to talk
I
about.
thought there were like 3 third and ones that you didn't make. And I wondered if you could comment on, you know, the offensive line, or, because there were some holes earlier.
Yep. Yeah.
I mean, were you satisfied with your short yardage play?
Yeah, I thought, to be honest with you, with our offensive line and our defensive line, I felt like we controlled the game. There's some short yardage situations that we'd like to have back, there's no doubt about it. But I thought we controlled the game. Obviously, the turnovers skew your perception of it, there's no doubt about it, and that's fair. But I thought for the most part, we did a good job there. Early in the game, there was a decision to punt on 4th and 1. Felt like that was the right decision based on the weather conditions, and I thought points were going to be hard to come by. But, you know, again, to your point, it doesn't give you a whole lot of confidence when you go for it on 3rd and 1, you don't pick it up to go for it on 4th and 1. But I thought, again, for the most part, we controlled the line of scrimmage. But the turnovers obviously really skewed the perception of everything.
2 more, Audrey, and then Pickle.
James, how would you kind of evaluate the way that Sean played today? Obviously, he had that really good turnover-free stretch, but that came to an end today. And you said that there wasn't a conversation on the headset about using Drew, but how would you kind of evaluate what you've gotten out of Drew to this point in the season?
Yeah, so I don't have, I guess I do have 10 of 20 with 1 interception and 1 touchdown. You know, obviously that's not up to the standard that he normally plays at. Obviously the 1 interception, there could have been a couple others. But overall, he did a great job in the run game. He did a great job managing situations. He did a great job managing the clock. There was a lot of things that, you know, there was a ton of value in. But yeah, I don't think this was one of Sean's best games. And just like I am for the running backs, I'm not going to allow the weather to be an excuse.
James, as you head into the bye week here, just what are your first impressions on the areas for growth you want to focus on this week, either it being on the field or in the film room, finding areas for growth? What are some of the things that come to mind?
Yeah, you know, after tonight, obviously the thing that jumps out to you is ball security, and that's ball security in the running game, especially on a night like this. You know, what we call capping, where you take the extra hand over the ball. You know, decision making, that we're not throwing the ball and putting the ball at risk. Those things are important. You know, to Neil's point, you know, doing a better job in short yardage situations. We work really hard to get the short yardage situations. We got to do a better job of executing them. And then the same thing on the defensive side of the ball, not necessarily tonight, but 3rd and long. We've done a pretty good job of getting the 3rd and long situations, and we've let people off the hook in those. So we got to be better there. Our PAT field goal protection in the middle, we made some subtle adjustments there with personnel and some techniques, and I thought that was better tonight. So we'll continue to build there. But there's a lot of areas. We will look at ourselves. We'll do a cross the ball self-scout, and then obviously we'll also get a head start, like I mentioned, on our opponents. And that'll be kind of a blend this week of both those things.
Thank you, Coach.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Jen.